Hi everybody, it's Az here from Heel vs Babyface. There are some interesting quests which have been added to the PTR for patch 5.2, and this is one of the most important because this is a pre-quest before we actually get to land on the Isle of the Thunder King. Now, don't panic if you're not around for the start of patch 5.2. You might be, off on holiday, you might not be playing WoW but are considering coming back to it at a later point. You might just have a life. Certain things I just don't understand. But when you eventually come to the Isle of the Thunder King, this will still be waiting for you. Although it's classed technically as an event, it's an event which is going to stick around. And it's in the form of a single person scenario, which is pretty funky. We've had a couple of them already. We've had this one, and we've also had the Troves of the Thunder King, which is literally like a treasure grabbing scenario. It's absolutely fantastic, and there's another Troves of the Thunder King video coming out very soon as I've completed it. I mean, actually getting from the start to the very finish. But there are a couple of spoilers which I think it's pretty safe for me to give away now. Not for the patch 5.2 stuff, but just to fill you in on a little bit of background information. Jaina's attitude, Jaina Proudmoore this is, because this is the Alliance point of view. Her attitude towards the Horde and the Alliance has changed drastically. She's fully aligned herself with the Alliance. But if you've been doing the Domination Point and the Lion's Landing quest chains, then you'll understand from the storyline aspects of that certain things were cocked up by Jaina. Firstly, Lor'themar Theron is very disillusioned with the way that the Horde's been run by Garrosh. And he was actually holding secret talks with Varian about the potential for the Blood Elves to come into the Alliance's fold. Now, we were already hinted at that when I did the Horde side of the quest chain on the PTR for patch 5.1, and Lor'themar confided in us that he was disillusioned. We didn't know that he was holding secret talks though, but we do find that out from the Alliance side. But there's always a but with Blizzard. Jaina lost her rag. She was completely blindsided with the whole Theramore getting destroyed business, that when she found out that the Sunreavers in Dalaran had been aiding the Horde, then she basically lost complete control and decided to wipe them out. And if you did the Alliance storyline, then you would actually be part of that extermination process. The Sunreavers, of course, are Blood Elves. So Lor'themar Theron suddenly was cut off all ties with the talks with Varian and realigned himself with the Horde. In fact, it probably reaffirmed his desire to stay with them, as he could rather deal with Garrosh's greed, power, etc., than deal with Alliance treachery. That's how he views it anyway. So far, we've joined Varessa, and this, of course, is Sylvanas' sister, youngest sister. We've been attacked as we've tried to fly over the Isle of the Thunder King. This is Blizzard's way of telling us why we can't fly on this isle. And that's because there are just constant thunder strikes which destroy mounts. So we've had to crash land, and then we've been ambushed by the world's smallest ambush. I got my Inferno out expecting reams and reams of trolls or whatever to come at us. And yeah, we got about 3 people and a blind goat. But not to worry, because we're making our way forward to the next area. And what we're pretty much doing now is we're trying to find an area to set up. We can't just stay on our Alliance ships and assault the Isle of the Thunder King from the sea. We need to get ourselves into a position to gain a firm footing. And this is actually how it's going to come to pass, we getting our base. The Horde, if you want to see your startup quest line for this, just puts in a comment below, and I will then just create a Horde character, and I'll do your side of the storyline from the Horde angle. But it's pretty good fun. I've got to stress, for a single player instance, and I imagine this is going to be a solo run through, a solo play. That's not an absolute guarantee. Blizzard, by all means, could put it into the scenario tabs and we can run it just as we would a regular scenario. But it is very nice for a single player scenario to advance storyline. I do quite like that. What we're not seeing though on Isle of the Thunder King and patch 5.2 so far, which is disappointing, is we're not seeing any storyline quests at the moment to deal with either the Kirin Tor Offensive or the Sun Reavers. That's not to say they're not going to come in. There's still probably a good 3 weeks or so, I'd imagine, before patch 5.2 sees the light of day. I imagine it's going to be released either back end of February or beginning of March, and I'm kind of leaning probably towards more beginning of March-ish time. But so far, so good. Yes, it does seem to be a lot of fighting, but Veressa speaks a lot to us during the course of this scenario, just by idle comments, and you do feel rather attached to her character, which again is just as little things like that, to me, make the storyline and make the fighting just that wee bit better. I just don't like it when Blizzard... For example, I'm just going to cut myself off here. For example, when this scenario came out on the crypt of the king, whatever it was just dreadful because there was no storyline to it. You literally started off at point A and just killed, end of scenario. And it just felt an utter waste of time. But I'm not going to go over old ground. I've made my position perfectly clear on what I've thought on the initial scenarios. I think they're absolutely dreadful. But it's nice to see in patch 5.2 some interesting ideas coming out. Single player scenarios as opposed to 3-player scenarios. That's interesting in itself. But the Troves of the Thunder King being complete and utterly different. It's more time management versus how much you can loot versus do you want to get to the end of the scenario or not. You can make all these decisions for yourself, and when you've got that sort of autonomy on how your character progresses, it just lends itself to a much greater experience, in my opinion. So we've killed these Zandalari guards guarding the bottom of the staircase. This, of course, is going to eventually be our base when we take over. None of the ads desperately hit you for any amounts of damage that you need to be worried about. I'm just kind of running around doing stupid little things like dropping rain of fire everywhere. This, of course, was filmed before I got my green flame. I think as soon as I completed this scenario, that's when I went off back to the Black Temple and eventually got my green fire. But the other video coming out, I've yet to decide whether it's going to be later on today or tomorrow. I'm a little bit under the weather at the moment, so I really am having to pick my fights when I do my commentary because my voice can't stand up to too much right now. But we'll see how it goes. If this one gets out in good time, you might see a second video out later today. But there is so much going on with the PTR at the moment, I'm not going to be stuck for content. Now, this is the final boss fight, and I gotta confess, I do like to confess quite a lot to you, don't I? I like to think of myself as a pretty honest person, and you know, if I make a mistake, I make a mistake, and I definitely cock this fight up completely because I am paying more attention to just trying to DPS the boss than to the very, very clear and concise instructions on the screen like that. The Spirit Mask, which we can't attack, has silenced us. It's doing a hymn of silence. So if we get inside the barrier, it will break the silence and I'll be able to start casting again. But for some reason, I don't know what it was. I genuinely cannot remember for what reason it was. But I'm just not paying any attention to the text on the screen. I've just bottlenecked myself to DPSing. I find a little potion on the side there and I'm all happy and, you know, as Larry. But this Hymn of Silence, look, it's ticking for 44k damage and I'm taking a lot because I'm not in the barrier being protected. And I think it was definitely cockiness because I'm like, well, I'm a warlock. I've got some very good health regeneration abilities. I've got, first of all, my Soulstone, and then I've got my Burning Embers, which I've actually got glyphed, so it's like quite a heavy hot. I've also got my Mortal Coil, which gains 20% of my health back, and then I've got my Dark Regeneration as well. So I thought, you know, it can hymn of silence me all at once. I've got plenty to grab hold of. And it looked like the boss was in serious trouble, so I didn't need to fear anything. Oh dear, how the mighty fall. This is where it finally gets the better of me. I'm like, whoa, 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 what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? I can't hold myself up. But then, and then, I get even cockier because I'm like, well, I've got a soul stone on, so I'll just burn down its last bit of health. It'll be fine. Oh well, I'll edit out the video. Silenced again. Never learn, do I? Hey, should have learnt first time by the whole process. Aye, Chihuahua. So I thought I'd send my video in like this, you know, with my fail up there for everybody to see. So I got back in, finished off the boss. Veressa starts to give a little bit of waffle about the end of the quest, and then the other guards come into the base, and that's it. It doesn't tell me that the scenario is over, so I had to physically leave, and I complete the quest here. But this is where something very exciting happens, and I genuinely am very excited about this. I voice a lot of discontent about daily quests, but this is special. There's one daily quest. Is it Jaina? Is it Veressa giving it to me? No, it's neither. It's this parchment here. And if I click onto it, look at that. I can choose my style of dailies. I can do either PvE dailies, get myself some honor, valor points, get myself some lesser charms, and also 1,850 combined rep, or I can do some PvP quests. Dailies instead. Get myself some honor, conquest, lesser charms, and less rep. Now that rep is the combined amount that you would get if you do all the dailies. It's not like a lump sum for completing them. So for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to select PvE. It's a PvE server, so I'm just going to go along the lines of that. Clicking onto it then unlocks the dailies for whichever respective day you're doing it on, and that is brilliant. The Maelstrom, which is the server I'm on live, lots of people ask me what server it is, so I'll just reiterate the Maelstrom. That's a PvP server, so the likelihood is I might find myself doing a lot more PvP type of quests, even though they do give less rep all in all. So there we go. What did you think of that? I'd love to see the comments below. Please do like, comment and subscribe to my channel as well. Follow me on Twitter, like my Facebook, please. They both really do need your help. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. I've already got my green flame too, sunshine. Don't show off. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.